Hey there everybody, Mazrock here, and today we are doing Beginner's Guide to Guardian Druid. Now we're not talking tier sets, we're just going over the basics of the talent tree, the synergies that there are. I am going to be showing you two builds today and going over rotation basics for each. So there is the physical Raze build, and then there is the Guardian Druid Galactic Lazer build, which is heavy Moonfire. So we're going to be going over rotation tips for those. We're going to be going over active mitigation, defensives, utilities that, all of the utilities and stops and things that Bear can bring to a party as well. And we're going to be doing those in sequence and in order. But this I have to put out a disclaimer here, because every time I put a beginner's guide, they're like, well, this isn't what I do in plus 23s. This video isn't for people in plus 23s. Beginner's guide means people that are just picking up the spec for the first time. People that may have tried to tank a plus 5, didn't feel comfortable, and are looking for some help. This is who the video is aimed at. These builds will help you get your Keystone Master, will help you get Keystone Hero. We're going to talk about some flex options that you do have for some utilities, although the trees are a little rigid, unfortunately, with Bear. To get what you need, you don't have a lot of talent points to flex, but you do have some options along the way. So that is something that, we're going to talk about a little bit here. But if you are just picking up the spec for the first time, you're wondering how Bear plays, you need maybe a little bit of rotation tips or anything like that, this is going to be the place for you. I am going to be doing a Guardian Druid Mythic Plus video for 10.0.7 on how to do more, how to min-max more things and what you want your build to look like and what you want your rotation to look like there, but that isn't what this is. So before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, subscribe. Cannot do this without you. Love you guys so much. I am trying to do this full time, and Patreon is the best way to make that happen. I do have a part-time job, and I would love to not have that part-time job and sit here all morning and make content for you guys. That sounds fantastic to me, and yeah. There's a Discord link down below if you want to join a wonderful community full of great people. Come on by, check that out, and there's a Twitch link down below if you want to come by, have some fun on stream. So, with the first portion of this, we are going to be talking active mitigation, defensives, and healing, because those are kind of the three pillars of staying alive as a tank in in Mythic Plus, right? That's the whole goal. Stay alive. Hold threat, stay alive. After that, worry about your damage. So when we go over here, your main form of active mitigation is actually Iron Fur. This is a stackable 40 rage spender that increases your armor and does stack. This is very, very important. Just because you have one stack does not mean you don't want to use more. Now, this is a last for 7 seconds with some of the talent options and stuff that I've taken here or opted out of. But 40 rage spent equals big armor gains. Plain and simple, right? Now, this also does damage with the physical Raze build that I have here, and we're going to talk about this right now, because one of the things that I see Bears not doing is not using Iron Fur, and every single healer I've talked to that has a Bear tank that doesn't use Iron Fur is basically ripping their hair out. Thorns of Iron, and this is going to get you in good habits of using Iron Fur. Iron Fur will deal damage. Plain and simple, right? Very nice feedback loop. Gain survivability, do more damage. Yay! So with this build, you're going to want to be hitting Iron Fur as much as possible and spending as much rage on Iron Fur as possible, because you just gain the most. While Raze might do the most damage per rage spent on its own, the survivability aspect of it, even with Ursoc's Fury, which we'll talk about right now. So Thrash and Maul. Now, Maul gets swapped to Raze with this talent here, grants you an Absorb Shield for 50% of the damage dealt by 15 seconds. There is a cap on this shield. I think it's 138k based on my item level and health, but that does fluctuate based on item level, agility, factors, right? Just having the Absorb Shield on its own with no Iron Fur, you're going to burn through this shield so incredibly fast that when I was testing whether do I want Raze or do I want Iron Fur to be my rage spender during these times, I just found I had better survivability in all scenarios by using Raze with Tooth and Claw procs. So auto attacks have a 20 chance to empower your next Maul, stacking up to stacking up twice. Empowered Maul deals 40% increased damage, costs 100% less rage, and reduces the target's damage done to you by 15% for 6 seconds. This is where you want to be using your Raze, and it's going to be big value, big damage, and big absorb shields, while Thrash is also going to be giving you a big absorb shield. Thrash, now here I have a macro into my Thrash currently. We'll just remove that so we can see the talent, so we can see this here. So Thrash strikes all enemies, applying a bleed that stacks up to 3 times. This is going to be important in a little bit. That lasts for X amount of time and is applied in bear. When applied in bear form, it stacks up to 3 times. If you hit it in kitty, it's not going to extend that bleed, right? So very, very important there. But these are your main raid. Your next form of mitigation is Barkskin. Now, with the talents from this build here, which I am going to link down below, Barkskin is a 42-second cooldown damage reduction. It's going to be one of your main forms of active mitigation, of not active defensives that you're going to want to be pressing to avoid big hits. And on a 42-second cooldown, it's really, really nice. It's really good, and this is the one that you're going to be planning around your most amount of usage. But for really big hits is Survival Instinct. So reduces all damage you take by 50% for 6 seconds. And with the talent options that we have here, we only have 1 stack because we did opt out of the second, but we did reduce it down to 2.1 minutes. So all around, very strong, very good for big oh crap moments. But the thing with Barkskin and the thing with Survival Instincts is you need to hit it before you take the damage. A problem I see with a lot of new tanks is they're very reactive with those damage reductions. And they'll get hit and go from like 100 to 40 and then hit their the damage is done. Now it's healing time. It's not... Like, you did the damage. The damage is done. You want to hit this before the damage comes out. Savage Pecs on Croth and Algathar. Great time to be planning these. Another great damage reduction on a 1-minute cooldown that we opt into here is Rage of the Sleeper. 25% DR grants you 25% leech for 10 seconds. Increases all damage you do for 15 seconds. And reflects nature damage back to your attackers. Very, very strong cooldown. So between Survival Instincts, Barkskin, and Rage of the Sleeper, you have a lot of defensives at your disposal to use and cycle properly and really gain a lot out of. Now, when you do take damage, you're going to want to heal that up, right? And the best way to do that is Frenzied Regeneration. Heals you for 32% of your health, and this is a percent, not a set amount. Like, it's not going to heal you for 30,000 health. This is 32% of whatever health you have, so which is very, very nice. And this is always going to be incredibly strong, but it also increases your healing received by 20%. So if you are in a group with a healer that knows what they're doing and you take a big hit and you hit Frenzied Regen, that's the time where they also want to hit you with a flash of light, and that's going to, or whatever ability they have, to give you that big 20% increased healing on top of and allow you to be more safe. But there's also Renewal, so instantly heal you for 30% of your maximum health. This is instant on a 1.5 minute cooldown. This is a talent in the class tree that is very, very strong and is very good for those oh shit moments. I just got chonked and I need to get back up. Very, very strong button, and I enjoy this a lot. So when it comes to active mitigations, we're just going to recap here. There's Ursoc's Fury, Iron Fur, Barkskin, Survival Instincts, and Rage of the Sleeper. There is a second one, another one here that we're going to talent into on Tyrannical Weeks, which is Pulverize. Pulverize takes 2 stacks of the Thrash Bleed that you apply to targets and gives you a 35% damage reduction. Now, yes, there currently is a bug where Circle of Life and Death reduces the cooldown of Pulverize as well. That is a bug. It should get fixed. But if you time your Pulverize right, it shouldn't matter. It's not only going to last a second. It's 15% less. But very, very strong, especially for cycling through, Savage Pecs on Croth and Elgathar. Very, very good to have. But what I do here is I opt for Flashing Claws on Fortified weeks because I find things just don't hit. This is really used for Tyrannical, because Tyrannical, like Dragon Strike on Umbral Skull and Azure Vault, that thing bricks. Having an extra full-on single-targeted defensive for that is huge and very, very nice. But on Fortified, Flashing Claws I find to be the better play. So this is how you heal yourself, this is how you defend yourself, and this is how you stay alive. In the Guardian Druid build, you do have Elun's Favored. So we take this now, so while in bear form, you deal 10% increased arcane damage, and you're healed for 30% of all arcane damage done. Now, you want to go with Fury of Nature, you want to go with Twin Moonfire, and you also want to go with Scintillating Moonlight to reduce the damage dealt to you by 10% for whoever's affected by Moonfire with Galactic Guardian. We're going to talk about the Lazer build a little bit later, but that is also a form of active healing that you can have on yourself with a different build. Resource generation for bears. Now, bear's resource is Rage. You gain Rage by hitting Thrash. Thrash will generate 5 Rage, and Mangle will generate a number of Rage based on talents taken. So Soul of the Forest will increase that, and talents can affect how much they take, but with this build, it will generate 15 Rage per Mangle. So the way that you want to be working your Rage is you want to build it. You can also use Bristling Fur. This build does have it built in. So bristling your fur, causing you to generate Rage based on the damage taken for 8 seconds. This is on a 40-second cooldown and can allow you for Burst Rage at the start of pull, allowing you to get some quick Iron Furs off along your way. If you are running Galactic Guardian, whenever you get a Galactic Guardian Moonfire proc, that specific use of Moonfire will also generate 8 Rage, but this isn't part of that Raze build at all. Now, for the little nuances for rotation for the Raze build, I do have a video on that already talking about that build, so I'm not going to be going into things like Vicious Cycle and all of those Tooth and Claws and kind of all of those things. I will be giving beginner rotational tips here, but if you're looking for more specifics about this build, I have that already linked down below. Your main offensive cooldown is Incarnation. Now, it kind of sucks that we have to spend 5 points to get the full version of this, because Incarnation will replace Berserk, giving you 50% reduced cooldown on Mangle, Thrash, and Growl, which is your taunt. It will give you 15% haste, and reducing the rage cost of your Maul by 50%, so 20 rage instead of 40 for Raze. And as well, this will reduce the cooldown of Frenzied Regeneration by 100% and the cost of Iron Fur by 50%. So instead of 40 Rage Iron Furs, they become 20, allowing you to stack these really high during Incarn windows. Now, this is base 3-minute cooldown, but with the last talent point here, every 20 Rage you spend will reduce the cooldown of Incarn by 1 second. So, 1 full cost Iron Fur at 40 Rage is 2 seconds of cooldown. So you are going to reliably get this around the 2-minute 10 marker, right? Actually, 2 minutes is probably the best end. 2 minutes to 2 minutes 15s is usually around where you're going to be able to get this. But with this, you're going to give yourself very big damage windows within this Incarn window for 30 seconds, by the way. Mangle will also hit 3 targets instead of just 1, making... There is some controversy on... Because the top talent here, Berserk Ravage, used to be 100% and not 50%. But I actually do like the new changes, and it makes Berserk feel not thrash spam and allows me to have really fun windows of play here, but it will also increase your health by 30%. So you are incredibly tanky during your Incarn windows, but in your Incarn windows, you're going to be able to use Thrash, Mangle, Raze a lot more. You're going to see a lot more Raze procs in your Incarn windows for some odd reason. I think it also kind of increases your attack speed, but you get the haste and things like that too, right? So there's a lot of fun to be had here, but your main thing that you're going to be working rotationally with this build is Thrash, mangle, raise when it procs with tooth and claw, so it'll get nice and shiny, and spend your rage on iron fur. There is some talk about spending your rage on Raze because it will deal more damage and you will get the absorb shield, but through all of my testing I have found that I am incredibly tankier by just spending my rage on iron furs and only hitting Raze on procs. And especially while you're learning the spec, you might not instinctualize when you're in trouble yet, know when bigger hits are coming. It's better to play safe and be a lot tankier, but with, like I said, Thorns of Iron, you're going to be dealing that damage anyway, so it's not a huge damage loss to just spend it on iron furs and nothing else, but that is kind of where you want to go. Utility that Bear brings to the party. Now this, we obviously have Mark of the Wild, 3% versatility, huge. We also bring a Soothe. Soothe the target, dispelling all enrage effects. This is the only tank that can do this, so Raging Weeks, huge. Skitter Flies, huge. There's a couple of enrages in Knock Defensive as well, and there's some other dungeons that have enrage effects that you can just take away. This is a very good button to have and to press and to know when to press it, but that is dungeon knowledge that you're going to have to learn along the way. If on your bars you see an effect on an enemy, hit Soothe. You never know. You're gonna learn whether if it doesn't take it off, it doesn't work there. If it takes it off, you're like, oh, ooh, I can make life easier for myself and other people. Innervate is now castable in bear form. So you can, on 3-minute cooldown, you can just straight up cast Innervate on your healer, allowing them to cast spells without spending mana for 10 seconds. This is really good if you know there's big burst damage windows for the entire party. Herja in Halls of Valor right now, when she does the Eye of the Storm, that is... healers burn mana like crazy there because they're popping cooldowns, they're going nuts. This is a good time to use that. This sort of utility is really, really good when used properly. Now, Nature's Vigil is one that you're going to see in the Galactic Guardian build. I found it lost a lot of its potency with this Raze build, because Raze becomes an AoE, not a single target. We're not moonfiring anywhere near as much, and moonfire doesn't hit anywhere near as hard. So that 20% of single target damage healing a friendly ally, I found wasn't great, so I opted for other things. We do have AoE stops in Incapacitating Roar and Typhoon. Now, Typhoon is a push, but one of my new favorite fun interactions is to put an Ursol's Vortex down where I want all my mobs, right? Where do I want them? I'll put it down and I'll kind of move, and then I'll hit Typhoon and everything will fly out and then come right back in and pixel stack exactly where I want them. This is a good AoE stop and a good form of crowd control positioning that you can do as a bear that we couldn't do before Dragonflight, because you couldn't get Typhoon and Ursox to get Vortex as a bear combined, right? After the Wildfire, now this is one you're going to be seeing kind of a lot. Every 200 rage you spend causing is a burst of restorative healing allies for X amount. Now, when I was playing this, 90% of this healing was overhealing, which means only 10% was actually doing something. But if you get it procced right at the right time, it could definitely be a big heal on someone. So if this is something you want to play, you can. For me, I just found for one talent point in a tree that I just don't have enough talent points to get what I want. I found that this was starting to be a waste, and I didn't see any party troubles by not taking this. If you look at the HPS meters, it looks great, but then when you look at the overhealing meters, you're like, oh, okay, that's a lot of overhealing. So kind of something to work around and work with there. But you also can opt for Dispel, Remove Corruption. So this is a Curse and a Poison Dispel. There's not a lot of Poison Dispels in Season 1 Dragonflight of Dungeons. Poison is going to be very, very useful in Brackenhide Hollow in Season 2, but in Algathar Academy right now, the Tree Boss ads put a stacking poison debuff on whoever has threat on them, and if you do not have a Poison Dispel in your group, take some points out of here and get that Dispel. Trust me, 50 stacks of that hurts in higher keys. absolutely trucks, and being able to dispel that off yourself is huge. Straight up huge. It's very, very nice all around, but with this build, you're going to have a ton of damage absorption, active mitigation, and ways to heal yourself up with frenzied regeneration and all that stuff. Now, it is due to note that in Incarn, frenzied regeneration pretty much doesn't have a cooldown. You can just slam that button as many times as you need, but usually during Incarn, you're not too worried about it. Like you're not taking much damage in Incarn, let's just say. But for rotational tips for Raze, open up with Moonfire, get things to where you want it, and then charge in, and then quite literally start your Incarn rotation if you have it up. If not, open up with Thrash. But quite literally during Incarn, you can see I'm not hitting Swipe at all, and it's basically hit Raze when it becomes shiny, and alternate between Mangle and Thrash when it's not, and just keep Iron Furs up. And now, it is due note that Iron Fur isn't on the cooldown, on the global cooldown, so you can spam this. So as you pull Rage, you can see that I'm doing decently well at 90, like, I was at 80k there. I kind of fucked up, but I did okay. I have seen my Incarn spams, my Incarn windows in in higher tree, like higher pulls, get to 260, 300k. The Algathar tree room is one where this can happen. If you hit all of your buttons at the right time and you get a good pull, you are going to just deal stupid amounts of damage. Bear has been really, really fun. Don't let the naysayers bring you down on Bear if this is the tank that you choose to play. Really, really don't. Is this going to be timing you plus 26s? Probably not. Is this going to allow you to get Keystone Master and Keystone Hero? Absolutely. You're going to have to try a little bit harder than some other tanks, but you can have a lot of fun doing it, and correct play is going to net you a lot of fun, and you're going to actually surprise people. I have been running keys on Bear a lot lately, and there have been some DPS that are like, why am I competing for damage with Bear? I'm like, well, because you need to get better, but also Bear is really good right now. Just because you see the tier list and it says shit, yeah, that's for like the top end of play. We're in a 16 right now, and I'm doing just fine. Let's go. For the Galactic Guardian build, Moonfire becomes very, very important. This is going to become one of your active forms of healing, passive healing by applying them on, and Galactic Guardian is going to proc them. So your damage has a 5% chance to trigger a free automatic Moonfire on that target, which works with Moonfire, but will also glow and give you 8 rage when you spend your next Moonfire, and will deal 300% increased direct damage. This is all arcane damage, so with the Loons favored, lots of healing can be had here, and this is what you're going to see a lot of people run in higher keys, because it is more consistent damage. Now, rotationally with this, Moonfire becomes a much bigger part of your rotation, but it's very important to not spam Moonfire and override your Galactic Guardian proc Moonfire, because that one just deals more damage. Again, you want to keep up with Iron Fur, you want to be, but your main forms of AoE are Mangle and Incarn, Thrash, and Swipe. Maul with Vicious Tooth and Claw is strictly going to be a single target ability, and it will deal more damage on Tyrannical keys, because Maul by itself deals 22,000 physical damage, versus Raze only dealing 12,009. Now, this is with my stats, but being full AoE, right? So there are some things to be working here, and Iron Fur isn't going to do damage. So you do need to be playing accordingly and properly. Now, this build here does have After the Wildfire for the... But, like I said, I already talked about After the Wildfire. We're not going to be going there. But Moonfire, Thrash, and Mangle are going to be your main abilities here, and while Maul, you're going to be wanting to use this with your Tooth and Claw procs, you're not going to be wanting spending Rage on it at all. And Nature's Vigil does see a lot more play here, and consistent play, because Moonfire is purely a single target ability and will constantly be doing healing based on that damage. So that is right here. This is the Lazer Guardian build and the rotational tips for that. But yeah, all in all, I've been having a lot of fun with Bear Raze. I've been having a lot of fun with Galactic Guardian when I have been playing it. Have fun with Bear, guys. Honestly, it's in a much better spot than it was at the beginning of the season. I still think there is some tree work that needs to happen here. There's some stuff that could be taken off, and there's some stuff that can be reworked a little bit. But where Bear was and where Bear is now is where Bear are two completely different things. And honestly, it is a buttload of fun to play, and I've been having an absolute blast with it on stream, and I've been consistently surprised at how fun it is and how tanky it is. It's when you start getting into the upper echelons of play where things get a little bit more troublesome for this spec. But if you're just going for Keystone Hero, if you're going for Keystone Master, if you just want to tank some 5s with your friends, don't worry about playing Bear. Trust me, you can still do a lot of damage and be tanky as all hell. So that is the beginner's guide to Guardian Druid today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, join the Discord. And again, I can't do this without my patrons. Thank you everyone for listening. Happy tanking. Bye.